Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, the 2022 season is one of the most highly anticipated seasons since, well, probably last season for me, but for many, it's the most anticipated season in years. And whilst it could easily be argued that we should be keeping an eye on all of the teams to see how they tackle the new regulations, there are some teams I think we should be keeping an even closer eye on. I've picked out 5 for now, and just to clarify, if a team is on my list, it doesn't necessarily mean I think they'll be title contenders. It just means I'm intrigued to see what they can do, and you can let me know your picks in the comment section down below as well. So let's get on with it. Here are my teams to watch in 2022. First up, I've gone with Haas, and this is kind of why I said earlier that I'm not claiming the teams I pick are going to be in title challenges or anything like that, because you would probably have to pick me up off the floor if Haas managed to even get close to that this year. That said, 2021 was an awful year for them, and they were, for the most part, cut well adrift from the rest of the field. And whilst the car was pretty terrible, there was a reason behind writing off last year, and that was so they could put full focus on this coming season, and that is why I am massively intrigued by them. It will be fascinating to see what they have been up to for the last 12 months and whether they can take full advantage of the new rules and make a leap up the grid, get a head start on some of those around them, if you like. It will be tough because even though it has been their main focus, others haven't exactly been ignoring them either, and teams like Alfa Romeo and Williams, for example, put most of their efforts into 2022 as well. But Haas do have more wind tunnel runs and CFD hours to help develop their car for the first half of the season at least than anybody else on the grid, and in what is likely to be a very tight development race, that could be hugely important for them. Another factor to potentially consider is how good the new Ferrari power unit is and what difference that will make to Haas and actually to Alfa Romeo as well. If it does close the gap to the likes of Mercedes, it will obviously be a huge benefit to their customer teams and could help them in any close battle with, for example, a team like Williams. What would be a decent season for Haas, in my view? Well, I mean, literally anything is better than last season. But if they can make the top 8 in the standings, I think they'll be pretty content with that. But maybe they can go even further, perhaps back to the form they showed in 2018. Although, I think that's a big ask and I'm not totally sold on that. We'll see, of course. Next up, Aston Martin, and they are a team that on the inside seemed to be going places but suffered in 2021 and took a fairly large step backwards, actually. However, they are another team to shift focus early to 2022, and like others, that could pay dividends. And with the experience of Sebastian Vettel on board, they could be well placed to make their way back into the fight for the best of the rest. I would be surprised, if I'm honest, if they suddenly became the team to beat, because it's a big ask to go from P7 to suddenly be fighting for regular wins. But that said, Red Bull finished the 2008 season 7th in the standings and went on to have a very strong 2009 and finished that season 2nd in the Constructors. My point being, I guess, never say never. Ultimately, Aston have the resources, they are expanding nicely, so could be very well placed to spring a surprise in 2022. To be honest though, I'm not so sure, and in fairness, neither is Lawrence Stroll, who has previously said that it will take somewhere around 4 to 6 years for the team to become a title contender. However, this is a team in its previous guises such as Jordan, Force India and Racing Point that has often been punching above its weight. So often in the past when there have been issues for teams ahead of them, they have been there to pick up the big points, the odd podium, and in the case of Sergio Perez in Sakir, even a win. And that's why I tend to think it's a little bit silly to totally write them off. But although a massive move towards the sharp end may seem unlikely right now, I fully expect them to be in the mix for, again, the best of the rest spots, so potentially somewhere around P4. But if not that, they will move up the grid, and I'd be completely surprised if they didn't. Moving on, and Alpine are my dark horses for 2022. I think I've mentioned that a few times before now. It's one of those gut feeling things that usually steers me completely wrong, but there you go. Also, there's something about the combination of a new Renault power unit, a raft of new regulations, and Fernando Alonso that gets me very excited indeed. Maybe I need to get a life. Anyway, Renault did not put any work into its 2021 unit, aiming to go with a decent upgrade to coincide with the new regs, and Alpine have previously admitted that the car they were running last season was basically the same chassis and gearbox they've been running for the last few years. All of that is why greater emphasis was put on 2022 and why I think that's a great reason to get excited about the team this year. Look, I don't think we're talking about a title tilt, although they might find themselves in a position to pick up the odd win, or more likely the odd podium. I mean, after all, they picked up a win in a chaotic Hungarian Grand Prix last year, and Alonso made it to the podium in Qatar. And that was whilst driving a car that was far from a podium contender realistically. But they are a team that seems really well placed to take full advantage of the new rules, and that's why, again, with Fernando Alonso and the immense talent and ability he absolutely still has, as well as Ocon's continued improvement, they are my dark horses for 2022. I'm really optimistic about them, and I'm confident they will at least be in the fight for best of the rest. And out of all the teams that finished between 5th and 10th in the standings last year, I feel like they are in the best shape overall and will be the most likely to be able to take the fight to the top teams. Again, I'm not saying they will challenge for the championship, just that they'd be the team I'd put my money on if I was backing a midfield team to pull off a Brawn or Red Bull from 2009. Before I get on to my final 2 picks, now feels like the perfect time to let you know that this video is once again powered by Motorsport Network and Motorsport Images, and they will be continuing to power the channel over the course of 2022, so make sure you check them out. Links in the description as always. And I don't usually do this, but whilst I'm off on this kind of tangent, why not? Lots of content now that I'm moved and settled coming up on the channel over the next few weeks and months, so make sure you're subscribed if you're new, and don't forget to drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed it. But now all that YouTuber spiel is out the way, let's get on with it. My penultimate pick is going to have to be McLaren. That team has made some impressive progress in recent seasons and has come a long way since the misery of the Honda years. And whilst last season was a step back in terms of their final championship position, it still felt as though they made another decent step forward. After all, they won a race and made it to the podium on several other occasions. They're definitely moving in the right direction. There is a lot of talk about how the team is approaching 2022, with technical experts poring over some recent footage and images that the team released when it fired up the new car. Things spotted include a revised airbox and roll hoop design and a move towards a pull rod front suspension layout. And that hints at McLaren doing things very differently for them, at least this year. Of course, though, that is still speculation at this point, but it's something to keep an eye out for in testing and well worth a mention. A successful 2022 could also hinge on how the drivers perform, and whilst Lando Norris has excelled lately, Daniel Ricciardo definitely struggled for large chunks of last season, but he is still a quick, talented driver, and if he gets to grips with that new car quickly and Norris continues his progression, they could be set for a very decent season. Again though, and this kind of goes for literally every team on the grid, much will depend on how the car is. McLaren are in good shape right now for many reasons, including that new investment they got last year, and it feels like they are a more coherent team now. Things felt a little bit, how can I put this, all over the place a few years ago, and Zach Brown has done a great job at getting the right talented people in the right places. People like James Key, for example, people like Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris, and all signed up for the long term. Essentially, they feel a lot more stable than they were just a few years ago, and they are still improving as well. I'm feeling good about them, but I'm not sure they'll be looking at a title challenge. We will see, of course, but they are a team worth keeping a close eye on this season for sure, and I'm sure there are some of you who think they will be the team to beat this year. Let me know what you think. And finally, for my teams to watch in 2022, it is shock horror Ferrari. Yes, not a massive surprise, I know. The team bounced back really well in 2021 and really impressed in the back half of the year. Mattia Binotto has previously said that the team has been targeting the reg changes to help propel the team back to race-winning ways. And let's face it, they have the money and the personnel to be able to do that, and I expect them to pull it off. I'm feeling very good about a lot of teams, but certainly about Ferrari this year, and the noises coming out of Maranello all sound very positive too. Then again, they're hardly going to go, oh my god, we've screwed it up, are they? My point is that they have everything they need to capitalise on the changes, and right now I think they are my early favourites. Especially when you consider the fact that both Mercedes and Red Bull, who will still likely be up there in some way, no doubt really for me there, but they were embroiled in a title fight all of last season, and that could have an impact on their development. And the big question mark is, will that hamper them early on this season? And Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz were both exceptional last year, so closely matched, and that will surely only help make Ferrari stronger, assuming, again, they nail the car. I mean, I think I said this in my thoughts on 2021 series. If that's what Sainz can do in his first season, what is he going to do in his second? I just feel like that is one of, if not the strongest overall proven lineups on the grid right now. I'm really building Ferrari up here, aren't I? You watch them end up 7th or something like that. I'm sure they won't, but that tends to be the way my predictions go. I have to reiterate the point I made earlier about power units. Although the 21 unit was a step up on 20, there was still a definite deficit to Mercedes and Honda, but they seem optimistic that the new engine is a step up, and Binotto has recently said that the combustion side of things, thanks in part to the new fuel being used this year, is significantly different and has changed quite a lot. And if they have got it right with the power unit, managed to cut that power gap, got the aero right, and both the drivers step up again, they're looking good. Sure, there are a lot of ifs and buts in there, and it will be tough to overcome Red Bull and Mercedes. The gap was still pretty big last season, let's not forget that. But I hope you see what I'm getting at. The potential is definitely there. Then again, and I'm not taking a dig before you start, but then again, I feel like we've said that about Ferrari more than a few times in the past. Is this the year they finally deliver on that potential? That is it for this one then, but don't forget to let me know your teams to watch in the comments section down below. Do you agree with my list? Probably not, don't blame you. And who are your early title favourites? Let me know. Now, I will be back soon with another video, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help out the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.